Welcome back to another edition of the Earle Sports Bets. This is episode 3 of MLB 2023 season previews. The Tampa Bay Rays, it's your turn here. We'll be talking their additions, subtractions. We'll be talking their prospect pool. We'll be talking their starting lineup with their rotation, their bullpen, and then we'll be looking at futures odds as well. This is a fun team. This is one I've actually kind of been looking forward to doing because I really do like this this Tampa team. Spoiler a little bit there. So let's get right into this. We'll be starting here with the additions / re-signings. These are, and for re-signings, these are not players who sign contracts to avoid arbitration. And subtractions as well. Looking at the additions here, Charlie Culberson, Yandy Diaz, Peter Fairbanks, Jeffrey Springs signed an extension. Zach Eflin and Ben Gamel. On the subtractions here, Ryan Yarborough, Brendan McKay, Roman Quinn, Nick Anderson. Starting with the subtractions here, really nothing. Really nothing as of note. Nick Anderson's probably the biggest name on this list. A good bullpen piece, but with that being said, I think that they'll be fine in their bullpen as we'll get to. I think they have one of the stronger bullpens in baseball. Ryan Yarborough had an awful year last year, so I'm not surprised they got rid of him. Brendan McKay was really a bench player, and so was Roman Quinn. So they didn't lose much from last year. And looking at their additions here, Culberson, they signed him to a minor league deal, so he might be a bench player, a role player. Nothing crazy there. I believe they re-signed Yandy Diaz to be in the middle of that batting order. Peter Fairbanks, he re-signed with them as well. He's going to be their closer. Jeffrey Springs re-signed with him. He was a good part of that rotation last year. Ben Gamel, I know I skipped over a name there. Ben Gamel, nice little depth piece. Probably my favorite signing here, and I think this probably might be one of the more underrated signings in baseball. Zach Eflin. I really like Zach Eflin this year. And one thing we know with the Tampa Bay Rays, because they actually paid this man. Yeah, like they gave him 4 years or 3 years, $40 million. They paid that, and that's a lot of money for the Rays to go forking out because we know how the Rays are with money. So they obviously see something here in Zach Eflin, which makes me very interested in what they see and makes me want to back them a little bit here. I like the additions here. I like that addition for the Rays. Obviously, the Rays, I'm not going to question anything they do anymore. This looks like almost nothing here other than re-signing a couple players and getting Zach Eflin. Now, if we look at it for a team, and this was not the Tampa Bay Rays, we'd be like, wow, this offseason sucked. They got almost nobody. But this is the Tampa Bay Rays we're talking about here. I'm not questioning anything they do anymore. So I like the addition of Eflin, but that's about that. But that's all I really have for them here.
Yeah, I will say one other thing that we kind of – I'm not sure if we skipped over it or when did Wander Franco sign that contract?
Last year.
Okay, last year. 11 years, $182 million.
Which is a lot for the Rays.
Yeah, no. Yandy Diaz, I guess a solid bat in the middle of the lineup. Fairbanks to help out the bullpen. Springs, I like. Yeah, there's a reason why Tampa Bay gave Zach Eflin the second biggess contract on the team. Actually, third in terms of money per year because Tyler Glasnow did get 2 years for $30 million. So, but I never challenge anything that Tampa does with pitching. If they pick up a pitcher, they see something in them, and normally they're right. Which we'll get to something with Zach Eflin later on. But additions, subtractions for the Rays, I think they did a good job this year. If this was a bigger market team, an LA, a New York, a Philly, it would probably be not as good. But for the Tampa Bay, I think it's all right.
Yeah, and thanks for letting me know we had the hockey background up.
I wasn't even paying attention to that.
Hi, Dad. How are you doing?
Hi, Dad.
And we'll move on here. I don't follow prospects too much, but this is kind of what we were looking at here with prospects for this one. According to Prospects 1500, they have the 6th rated farm system, and I'm not surprised with the Tampa Bay Rays. They always seem to win trades, no matter who they trade with. I mean, they got 4 top 100 guys. 3 of them due up into the major leagues this year. Tage Bradley, a right-handed pitcher. Curtis Mead, a second base / third baseman, and a first baseman, Kyle Manzardo. And then they have the number 72 prospect, Carson Williams, expected up in a couple years. Prospects. I don't know too much about these prospects, but going to be interesting to see how these guys fit into the team. I don't have too much on this. You want to touch on anything about this?
I got nothing with prospects. I don't really pay attention to the prospects that much. You pick up on a couple of bigger name guys, but I really got nothing for their prospects. Obviously Tampa Bay with their pitching, I think Taj Bradley could be pretty solid, but I haven't seen any film on the prospects or anything. I don't really pay attention to that stuff all too much, but it is a good thing to kind of bring up so that we know exactly how good their farm system is.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team with a decent future as well. It's kind of saying here,
Correct.
Which the Rays are always going to be one of those teams where I feel like they win 90 games out of their ass every year.
Yeah, I don't know about this year, but we'll see.
Yeah, so decent players that could be coming up. And you got to keep in mind, maybe if they try to push for something here, these could be decent trade pieces.
They could.
They can absolutely be trade pieces here. So we'll go into their this is probably this is probably the part that we will break down the most here.
Yep.
Their projected starting lineup, according to Fangraphs, their projected rotation, and their projected bullpen. Yandy Diaz will be leading off. Wander Franco, Randy Arozarena, Brandon Lau, Harold Ramirez, Manuel Margot, Isaac Parleys, Christian Bethencourt, and Jose Siri for their rotation. This is probably the strength of their team. Shane McClanahan, we'll get into him a little bit later for me at the very least. Drew Rasmussen, Zach Eflin, Jeffrey Springs, Yanni Chirinos. Unfortunately, Tyler Glasnow is going to be out for the season.
Yeah.
For a decent chunk of the year.
I think he's out indefinitely for the moment. They don't have a. No, I thought it was 6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8. Was it 6 to 8 weeks or? Yeah,
6 to 8 weeks. Something like that.
Yeah, so he's going to be not on the starting rotation from the start. For their bullpen, Pache, Kelly Thompson, Clevenger, shout out ECU Pirates, Sean Armstrong, Jalen Beeks, Jason Adam, which I think is a great bullpen piece for them there, and Peter Fairbanks is going to be closing for them. When we look at this team, I think the top of the batting order is going to be good. Wander Franco, I think, is going to be special, and Randy Arozarena has shown he could be very good as well. Brandon Lau's got some power. And after that, after the top four hitters, that's the big question mark with this team. Is after that with Rodriguez, Margot, Paredes, Bethencourt, and Siri. I think that's the tough part. That's the biggest question mark about this team. That being said, I think they'll be okay. I think they'll score enough runs because they'll be getting McClanahan and Rasmussen and Eflin, Springs. I love this rotation. This may be one of the best rotations in baseball, in my opinion. This is a team that I'm definitely very interested in. First 5 unders, I think it's going to be a great thing for this team because they have awesome starters. McClanahan, we'll get into him a little bit later. Spoiler, he's one of my 3 Cy Young picks. I think I mentioned this during the Blue Jays show when I was mentioning Manoah. I said McClanahan as well. Spoiler, all 3 of my Cy Young picks in the American League come from the East with Rodon, with Manoah, and with McClanahan. Those are my 3 picks for the Cy Young this year. Rasmussen put some respect on his name as well. He had a phenomenal 2022. And Zach Eflin, someone I want to highlight here because he was the big addition for the Rays in the offseason. And if they're paying him as much money as they are, the Tampa Bay Rays know something here. So I'm expecting him to have a career year type of year. So I'm looking to back Zach Eflin in the beginning when it comes to this. So and their bullpen, I think, is going to be very strong as well. I love the back end of that bullpen with Jason Adam and Peter Fairbanks. I really like that as your 8-9 relievers. Sean Armstrong, I think, is going to be strong again this year, former ECU alum. I like Ryan Thompson as well in that bullpen as well. So overall, I think this is one of the best pitching staffs in baseball when you include the rotation and the bullpen with it too. I think this is going to be still a very good Tampa Bay Rays team that's going to win baseball games from their pitching. And I think this is going to be a really solid rotation, which I think at the end of the year, we may take a look and say this is the best rotation in baseball.
That's fair. I will say Tampa Bay and unders are going to be best friends this year. I am not a fan of that lineup. I will say that. I like Franco. I like Arozarena. I think the rest of the lineup has a lot to be desired. I'm not a big fan of it. The way that they're going to win games is 3-2, 2-1, 3-1. Like, you're going to get a bunch of low-scoring pitchers duels with the Tampa Bay Rays this year. I just don't. I know you're high on them, Nick. I'm not buying in on them because of that offense. The pitching staff, phenomenal. That's why I think they're going to be a heavy under team this year.
Yes.
Because they're not going to be able to score runs. But when I looked at it, I'm not a big fan of the lineup. I love their pitching staff. And when we get into futures, I'll talk about we'll mention one guy again and how much I really, really like Zach Eflin.
Really? I like it. Then we'll take a look at the futures here. There's a little bit of a quicker show, but I mean, yeah. I think we're going to go a little bit more deeper in depth here in the futures odds here. Team wins 89 is the projected number here, or the number. These are all bet online numbers for when you're trying to bet these futures. I'm probably going to place most of my futures on Bovada, so those numbers may be a little bit different than these numbers. 89 projected win, or 89 is their win total. To make the playoffs, yes is minus 170, no is plus 140. To win the AL East is plus 325. I believe I saw plus 375 on Bovada. Plus 850 to win the American League. They have, I believe, the fourth best odds to win the American League behind the Astros, the Yankees, and the Blue Jays, and 20-1 to win the World Series. So obviously the books are high on this team as well. 89, that's a pretty good win total. I think this is at least a 90-win baseball team. I am locking in three. I'm going to lock in three futures on this team. The first one, over 89 wins at $1.15. I know you're not as high on that one as I am. I like this Tampa Bay Rays team to be another one of those teams where they don't have the bankroll or they don't have the salary that the other teams in their division do, but it never seems to matter. Kevin Cash is one of the best managers in baseball, and this is one of the best analytical teams in baseball. So I have given up on trying to be like, okay, the Rays are not going to do this. The Rays are not going to do that. The Rays are going to win baseball games. Pretty plain and simple. Tampa Bay is going to win baseball games. Give me over 89 wins for this team. And I'm going to take a shot with them to win the American League East at plus 325. Now, I know on the first show I gave out over 94.5 wins for the New York Yankees. And I'm giving out, obviously, the over for them here. I think there's value in this number, though. I think at the very least there's value on plus 325 or plus 375 on Bovada for them to win the American League East here. When we're looking at it, I wasn't going to take even money for the New York Yankees, even though I do believe the Yankees win this division. I think plus 325, the risk reward is there for me to take a shot with this number here. Am I taking them to win the American League or to win the World Series? No. I don't think they're a team that's going to go all the way here. But I am very, very high on this team, and I do see them potentially winning the American League East. And I know that East is going to be really difficult to win. But plus 325, I'm going to take a shot with them here. I see that. I think they have the most value in this division. I know you think a different team, which we'll touch on tomorrow. Spoiler, tomorrow, Orioles. And we may do that earlier in the day because it's Friday. We may do a couple tomorrow. Because I have we have time probably tomorrow to do that a little bit. But yeah, I know you like a different team for the American League East, a little bit bigger odds. I like the Rays here at plus 325. Am I taking them to win the American League World Series? No. Now the third one I'm probably going to look to take. I'm seeing 14-1 on Bet Online. I have to take a look what he is over on Bovada. I'm taking Shane McClanahan to win the Cy Young Award at 14-1. This is the third and final Cy Young future I'm going to be giving out during these videos for the American League. For the National League, obviously, I have other Cy Young picks there. And when I take these Cy Young picks, these are quarter unit plays. The World Series futures that I'm going to give out and the player futures are going to be quarter units, half unit for pennant futures, full unit to make the playoffs, or the win totals and divisions as well. So for me, over 89 wins for the Tampa Bay Rays, them to win the American League East at plus 325, and Shane McClanahan to win the American League Cy Young around 14-1.
Yeah, I'm going to go in a different direction. I am not too big of a fan of this Rays team. You know this, Nick. I'm sorry. I have teams that I like in the division a little bit more. I think that Toronto is a better team. I think the Yankees are a better team. I think
on paper, absolutely.
I would probably go win total under, and I would probably go to make the playoffs no at plus 140. This rotation's fantastic. It's going to be very difficult for them to win games scoring 2 to 3 runs a game. That's all I could see. I'm leaning towards the no. I'm leaning towards the under. I will say, and we mentioned this one earlier, I think there's stupider bets. Here's one that I'll give out for this. Zach Eflin Cy Young.
Ooh.
200 to 1.
Okay.
I think there's stupider bets to be made. Obviously, the Rays see something that they gave him $40 million for 3 years. That's the second biggest contract dollars in terms of dollar amount on that team, only behind Wander Franco. They see something in him. I think he wins the side. I think there's stupider bets to be made than Zach Eflin Cy Young at 200 to 1. So that'll be one official play I give out. Obviously, that is a very, very small bet. That's like a $5 bet, but it's like $5 to win $1,000. So Zach Eflin, Cy Young, but Rays as a team, under and to make the playoffs, no would be my leans. Am I betting either of those? No, I just don't really have a feel on this team.
Fair. And this could be a very tough team to read. I think that Tampa Bay is one of those teams where they're very difficult to understand a little bit.
Correct.
So I can definitely see that. But that is, I think, everything we wanted to touch on with these. Some of these breakdowns are not going to be as long as others. Obviously, I think the New York Mets one is going to be the longest. Or if we get guests on, that's when these breakdowns get a little bit longer. So if anyone is a fan of a certain team, DM us on Twitter if you want to come and talk about your favorite team. So things along those lines. But I think that's going to just about do it for this one. Anything else you want to say about the Tampa Bay Rays before we head on out?
Oh, we should be pretty much good.
All right. Then we want to thank you guys, as always, for watching. A couple of chats here. Good to see. You can see you guys. Can't wait for opening day. Yes. Good takes. Appreciate it. Quick. What's quick? Yes, this was a quicker one here. But yeah, that is going to do it for this. I want to thank you guys, as always, for watching. Let me find the outro video. All right, there we go. And
see you tomorrow for Baltimore.
See you tomorrow. Baltimore Orioles. We'll figure out what the time will. We might do that one a little early, but who knows?
Okay.
All right. Good luck, guys.